welcome back to my channel. I'm Vanusa and today I'm drawing a Genshin fan art while talking about why I stopped playing Genshin. Plus some yapping about the process of this piece, which in some parts definitely put me through the ringer. I'm not satisfied with it, but I'm happy enough about it and we'll get into that in just a minute. This video will be a mixture of script and off script, so I hope that's okay for everyone. Also, if anyone is willing to let me know in the comments, do you guys prefer speed paint where the canvas stays in place or when it moves around? This one will move around, but maybe next time I can change that. So with this piece, I searched for friends hanging out and found the reference for this on Pinterest. And I realized as I struggled to draw Farina that even though I've been practicing anatomy and poses, I actually have no idea how to pose in space. This is the first time I'm drawing something that remotely has composition. I mean, the camera angle, horizon line, things I've studied but never really put into practice. And now I'm thinking I definitely have to do more of these friends hanging out searches to kind of have a better understanding of how to position characters. Through this piece, though, I've decided to try to let go of a perfectionism that I don't have. And what I mean by this is, skill-wise, I'm a beginner artist. There's so much more I need to and want to learn, but unfortunately my eyes have far surpassed my hands, and that leads me to hyper-criticize everything I draw. But the kicker is, I'm looking at artists that have 10 to 15 years of active training, and I'm telling myself, I should reach that in the next 2 years, which honestly is kind of rude. Not kind of, pretty rude, and hella pretentious, in my opinion. Maybe it's my circumstances that make me put pressure on myself, but I really have to allow myself to draw like a kid, with no worries, and for no one else's enjoyment but my own. Of course, I want to build a career doing this. I want to be a character designer for games, movie series. I want to own a shop, be a comic artist. Within art, I want to be many things, and I believe I can achieve that, but I kind of just have to give myself some grace and space to grow. I realize that I don't necessarily have to rush, or also probably just strip, or worse, I'll start distancing myself from art, which did already happen before. So with this piece, though there's ways I know it can be pushed further in the rendering, in the anatomy, in the perspective, the expressions of the characters, I decided to give myself grace to say, hey, you're a beginner, it's okay to not know how to do those things. At this moment, let's keep pushing, and eventually we'll get there. That's pretty much what I wanted to say about the art piece, because I've been pretty consistent uploading shorts lately, and I feel like I'm always negative Nancy there, complaining about something within my art, and I really don't want to have that reputation. So I just want to put it out there for myself, and who knows, for someone else too, because even though this is a medium that I really love and I really desperately want to be good at, it is definitely a skill that you have to learn through time, effort, and investment, honestly. So now getting to the fun part. This will start going a little bit off script, so please bear with me. I hope I won't ramble too much, but I don't know, maybe I can be like a second monitor or something that's in your background while you're doing something else. So why I stopped playing Genshin? The number one reason is because my iPad started lagging a lot. I'm using the iPad Gen 6 that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace a few years ago. And I bought it in place of a laptop because I want to try digital art. And while short term that was great, I now think I should have gone for the laptop, but it is what it is. So while playing Genshin, my iPad would just lag, especially during critical fights when I'm like, oh my god, I just need to do one more hit, two more hit, and I could win this boss fight, and it would just lag, and it was so annoying. Especially when I was playing against those cubes, because you know some of the cubes, before they die, you have to like hit them in their like core or whatever, and it would just lag there, and I would be so upset. But then I noticed my iPad in general started lagging, and I thought it was Genshin because it was the biggest space taking app I had on my phone at the time, or iPad, excuse me. I deleted it expecting I would be back within a month or two, but after I deleted it, I realized I didn't really miss it as much as I thought I would, and I was pretty certain why. I mean, obviously life and other things happen, but within the game, I noticed that when I deleted Genshin, it was when Natlan was still a relatively new part to explore, and I was really having a good time. I think it was around Zhongli's rerun, if I'm not mistaken, which kind of hurt me because I always wanted him and I could never get him for some reason. I always miss his reruns, and the one time I could, the gacha gods were not favorable to me. So I think it was around that time that I stopped playing. Maybe also the fact that I didn't get Zhongli influenced my decision to delete the app. Right. So Natlan was still new. I was having a grand time exploring it. The music is the best of the regions, in my opinion. Turning into a something Saurus was so cool. But there was one thing that kept gnawing at me. I think it's fair to say that Genshin takes inspiration from real world countries, folklores, etc. Like Mondstadt and Fontaine have European influences, Liyue has Chinese influences, Sumeru has, I would say, Egyptian influences. What else? Inazuma, obviously, very heavily inspired by Japan. And when Natland came, honestly, I was already expecting it to have some African influences, and it did. It turned out to have like African influences, pre-Columbian Latin influences, and I thought that was really cool. I thought the world, as I said, was really nice, and I was happy to see that a lot of the NPCs had like darker skin tone and, you know, Afrocentric hair. That was really cool. I just noticed that the only characters that did have POC characteristics were the NPCs, and I was like, that's interesting. And I learned recently, and I'm not sure how, but I think this is true. Mavuika is actually inspired by deity of Latin culture, if I'm not mistaken. And Mavuika in the Latin culture is of a darker skin tone. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Now, before I even go a little bit deeper into this, I fully understand that Hoyoverse, the creators of Genshin, are a Chinese company based in China. They make games for the Chinese public. Of course, it's also marketed worldwide, but you know, China is made up of over 1 billion people, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely their core audience is in China, and they make games catered to citizens there. I think that's totally understandable. I think that's totally fine. I'm never the one to be like, oh my gosh, a game from China should make the characters dark skin. That's not what I'm saying. But I do find it interesting how they take inspiration from POC cultures. In this case, I'm mainly talking about Latin America, Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa specifically, and they're like, you know, we'll take a little bit of your flavor, but we won't choose your people to represent that flavor. I just find that so interesting. Actually, I wanted to make a comic titled "The Time I Got Reincarnated into Genshin," and it would just be about like this dark-skinned kid who got reincarnated into Genshin in Natlan, and then they'll be like, oh, I want to be an adventurer. I'm going to be the top adventurer in XXXY. And then everyone around them is just like, ooh, yeah, about that. You can't. And the kid will be like, why? Why can't I be an adventurer? They're like, interesting. Good question. You don't have the credentials. And the kid will be like, no, I'll work hard. I have no idea what's the thing called. I should have searched. But that thing that I guess they all have for their powers. And like the kid receives that, but they're like, yeah, no, you're not going to be the best. I don't know. I thought that would be an interesting comic to just like, that's the kind of isekai I want to see. Where a kid just goes to Genshin, or rather gets reincarnated into the Genshin world, and they kind of have to fight to become a top playable character. I don't know how that would work, but I feel like that's such an interesting concept because it would be like, obviously it will have to they will have to definitely talk about some racial insen- racial insensitivities. There you go. Is that how you say it? I hope so. Anyways, but yeah, so that was kind of something I wanted to do, and I might still do it because I think that sounds like such a fun idea. Imagine, really, just imagine you get reincarnated into Genshin, and you're like, oh my god, I love the world, I love everything. I'm gonna be like, point at the Lolly, I don't know, and they're like, oh yeah, no kid, you can't. Anyways, no. So I just found it interesting that in Genshin, in Natlan specifically, even though it definitely has influences of Africa and pre-Columbian Latin America, they still depict all the playable characters of a lighter skin tone. I think there's like maybe one who's not, which is like the kid, but even then, it's just like, what in the world? And again, like the characters, the NPCs, they have like dreads, they have froze, they have cornrows, I believe. And not a single playable character has that. And I don't know, I guess I'm never one to be like, oh, Hoyoverse should do this and they should do that. I think they're the creators of the games. They can do whatever they want. I really hate the idea of begging other people to represent um, a wider range of skin tone if they haven't done that initially. I just tend to go to another program or another thing that does represent those skin tones. But unfortunately, RPGs of that kind are usually from China or from Japan, and they they just don't do it. It's really rare. I mean, right now there's a game called Love and Deep Space. If anyone has heard of it, the main character, you can change their skin color, which I find that to be so nice and so much more immersive. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I stopped playing ultimate games, because I'm literally that type of person where if I just feel like, I don't mind sometimes, like, of course I played Genshin for a while, so I don't mind when my character, because it's not a self-insert, right? So I don't mind if the character I'm playing is of a different skin tone, is of a different gender, that's fine. But sometimes it's really nice, especially when it's a game targeted for you to have like playable choices, making decisions and stuff like that. I really like when I can kind of customize my character so it feels more attuned to me. And yeah, so I'm never really gonna be the type to. Oh, I was going somewhere with that train of thought, right? So I really appreciate that in Love and Deep Space you can customize the NPCs to some extent. At least skin colors, you have not a limited, not extensive skin choices, but I think just enough, because if you're just trying to get a feel of a character that you can't really customize too much, just changing from a few skin tones kind of really helps for you to be more immersive in the game. That's just my personal opinion. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Info, the creator of Love and Deep Space, is a Chinese-based company, so they can do that when they feel it's necessary. And honestly, look at the success. One thing, okay, I'm rambling now. If you guys don't know, I'm leaving. I'm picking I'm picking up train of thoughts and letting it go. But I wanted to say, I always find it so interesting when companies don't have a bigger range of representation, especially for darker skinned people. Because what I'm about to say might sound crazy. Say might sound crazy, and actually, at the 16-minute mark, I don't believe there's a lot of people here, so I think maybe I can say it. I find it so interesting that companies don't want to capitalize on the huge market that there is for like black or dark skin players. I think that dark skin players typically are starved for the representations in the games that they play. So when a company chooses to represent dark skin characters, those dark skin players are typically going to be your loyalist customers, because they're like, oh, finally, we got something that we can be seen in and all these stuff. And I feel like if I was a CEO of a company, like, honestly, if I was like a white man, I don't know why I say a white man. I could say a white woman. I don't know. But if I was of a lighter skin complexion and I could make these games, I would be like, there's a gap in the market. We can increase our prices margin by X% just by adding one character. Just by adding one character, we will be seen as different from the rest. And by then we'll get recognition. This sounds so stupid, but it's actually so true. Like, if I was honestly just a business person, I would be like, there's a gap in the market. Because, okay, I don't know if someone knows this. Again, I'm jumping. I'm so sorry. I don't know if anyone knows the makeup company Tier. And this is like a totally different sector from art, I suppose, and maybe no one knows what I'm talking about. But just follow my logic here. Tier has been hyped up by the black community, dark skin community, since it came out. Because what did they do? They went and sent. I honestly think that was a PR move. Like, I honestly think that was a strategy, and I think it was a beautiful one, and it definitely worked. I believe that they were smart with it. So Tier sent dark skin influencers like a collection of their new makeup line or foundation, and this YouTuber was like, "Oh, Tier, you gotta do better. It's not inclusive." Tier, like within 2 months, was like, "Got you." Run it back. Sent the influencer a new collection with darker skin tone, and it had the influencer shade, and that really garnered pleasant surprise from the audience, because everyone was like, hold on a minute. Tier is a Korean brand, so a Korean brand sent something to a dark skinned influencer, heard the feedback, said run it back to the lab, and within like less than a year, definitely, they were able to supply darker shades, something that American companies struggle to do. And to this day, even if Tier doesn't have shades for everyone, but I do think they have quite an extensive shade from what I know. I'm not too much of a makeup girly, but I do sometimes follow it. Even if they don't have like the most extensive shade, people kind of garner them as a brand that really listens to feedback, a brand that really cares to be inclusive. And just by that, in my personal belief, I think that literally solidified Tier as a top company, because not only for its dark skin customers, but all their customers in general, it kind of sends the message that, yeah, we're a company that cares, we're a company that, wants our customers to be happy. And yeah, we believe that certain things should be accessible to everyone, especially something like makeup. Everyone wants to feel beautiful. Everyone wants to accentuate a feature or two. So they definitely have gained the reputation of being a brand that cares, and time after time they showed up. So to put that logic back into Genshin, or to like, if I was a CEO, I would have been like, you know what, guys? Because there's a gap in the market, and darker skinned people usually are very starved. Like, it's so sad to say, but like a lot of dark skinned people like will literally accept just crumbs. Like, one player is enough a lot of the time, because it's just like at least something. And so if I was a CEO, I would have been like, we're gonna make this game. We're gonna put these characters out, and while they might not be popular, maybe let's say in China, but they'll most likely be popular overseas. And just by doing that, a lot of dark skinned players will most likely champion for the company, for the game, and do cosplays and fan art and things of that nature. So I personally believe, from a business point, it's just bad business. And the thing is, every time a game tries it, it pays off. Think Miles Morales and Spider-Man, huge sales, huge love. Baldur's Gate 3, full of character diversity. And if I'm not mistaken, it won Game of the Year. Also, mind you, I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet. I also haven't played Love and Deep Space. I am living vicariously through everyone on the internet right now. As I said, my iPad is not enough for Love and Deep Space, sadly. And definitely is not compatible for Baldur's Gate 3. So I just have to hope next year, hopefully, I don't know, when I'm not a brokey, that I'll be able to play these games that I just be talking about. But no, yes, Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. And of course, I don't believe it was simply because it had a diverse character group, but the gameplay, the story, all was chef's kiss. But I'm pretty sure that definitely helped. And I feel like so many people are now into the game. Like me personally, I'm not even really into D&D. I don't really know how that works. But because I saw that, one, the story looks really great, and two, I can customize my character, I am already so interested to play it. And I have it on my list for when I actually have a working device to play it, as well as Love and Deep Space. So definitely is proof, I would say. I mean, obviously that's just one person, but I would say a lot of people might feel the same. I think that's just proof that, yeah, from a business standpoint, it's just stupid and honestly low-key very discriminatory. Because the thought that I didn't finish and I have to finish is that while I don't think it's okay for people to go to a Chinese company and say, hey, portray darker skinned character, the part that I really couldn't get over is that they took inspiration of cultures that predominantly has darker skinned characters, or cultures that have darker skinned characters, and they're like, hey, this your culture, fun, love, but you as a person, ooh, I don't know. How about this? I'll just make you an NPC. Like, that's okay, right? I don't know. I just feel like that at that point, it becomes just a tad bit offensive, in my opinion. I mean, I still love the game down. If I ever get a device, I'll probably still play it, or I just go back to it, because actually recently I saw videos of the twins finally having a discussion, and I was like, oh my god, so much has happened. And I believe the Archon quest for Mavuika is over as well. So I don't know, I probably will still go back to it, but I just think that's like a sad aspect of a lot of the games that I would like to play, or rather this game. I think other games kind of suffer from the same issues, which it is what it is. But that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope I didn't yap your ears off. I hope it was somewhat consistent. I know I started a train of thought and I dropped it, but this is what happens when you don't have a script. But honestly, I didn't want to have a script for this part because, I don't know, I just wanted to speak from the heart, or just kind of speak like we're having a conversation. And I would be curious to know if anyone has felt this way, or if not, if you have a differing opinion. Definitely would love to have a conversation about that in the comments if you guys are up for it. What did you guys think of the piece that I made? I think there's definitely room for improvement. I mean, the clothes are horrendous. I just slapped color on them and was like, let me just imitate clothing. And I don't know why yeah, it is what it is. We will get better at it eventually. Yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have made it to the end of this video, I am surprised, but thank you so very much. And leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you would like more videos like this. I also try to upload other types of videos, but recently I've been doing commentary video. If you want to know my opinions on shoujo romance, you can check out my last video. I think that was a pretty fun video, and I really like the art piece that I did for that one. And that's pretty much it. I don't want to ramble anymore. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you next time, whenever next time is. Bye!